2019 FOP convention. And, welcome to our council meeting for this evening, and please stand for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Buck?
Mayor Ziegler.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Beagle.
Here.
Councilmember Gacho.
Here.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox.
Here.
Councilmember Leader.
Here.
Councilmember Resnick.
Here.
Councilmember Smiley.
Here.
Quorum present.
Thank you. Any additions or changes to the agenda? We have one that I was going to propose, and that is to add an appointment as new business number 6. It was on the desk here when you walked in. So that will be new item number 6. Mr. Brown, is there anything else that you wanted to add? Or?
Your Honor, I have no other additions or changes.
Okay. Anybody up here have any points they want to make? Okay. First item on the agenda is a presentation. We have the reaffirmation of oath for one lieutenant, 2 sergeants, and 1 police officer, and their introduction to the mayor and council. Hello.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, members of council, Madam Clerk, Mr. Brown, members of the public, law enforcement community, and honored guests and family members. Mayor, with your permission, I would like to introduce to you this evening 1 new hired police officer, 2 newly promoted sergeants, and a newly promoted lieutenant. This is an exciting and a big night for the city of Wixom, and I'm honored to be here to introduce these 4 individuals to you who are proud members of the Wixom family. So at this time, if I could have Officer Alexandra Rakovitis and her mom and dad, Eleni and Van, join me up here at the lectern. Mayor, Officer Alexandra Rakovitis was hired a couple months ago, and she's here with several honored guests. She's here with her mom and dad, Eleni and Van. She's here with her sisters, Melissa and Zoe. They could wave, maybe. Her brother, Peter, her future brother-in-law, Michael, her boyfriend, Bobby, and several friends of Alex's. Alex is a lifelong resident of Southeast Michigan. She graduated from Plymouth High School, and upon graduating from high school, she went to Ferris State University, where she earned her Bachelor of Science degree in criminal justice and law enforcement. She also attained her basic police academy training also at Ferris. Upon graduating from Ferris, she did an internship with the Canton Township Police Department, which solidified her desire to pursue her passion, that being of law enforcement. She's a proud new member of the Wixom Police Department. I'm proud to have been able to be at the helm when she was hired, and I would like to welcome her publicly to the Wixom Police Department. And now at this time, Madam Clerk, would you please administer the oath of office?
You solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the Charter and ordinances of the City of Wixom, Oakland County, Michigan, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties and responsibilities of police officer according to the best of your ability. I will.
Mayor Alex has asked that her father be the proud person to pin her badge on her.
That's good.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to introduce to you Officer Alex Rakovitis. This time I'd like to ask Sergeant Paul Mahala and his wife Rosalind and their children to join me up here at the lectern. Sergeant Paul Mahala has several honored guests here with him as well. He has his wife Rosalind, his son Connor, his daughter Claire, who I think is in the audience somewhere, his mom and dad, Ken and Joanne, are here, and I'm told Uncle Larry might be in the audience, who's a retired captain for the Detroit Fire Department, and is also in attendance. Paul Mahala graduated from Kalamazoo Valley Community College with 2 associate's degrees, one in CAD, or computer-aided drafting, as a drafter, and the other CAD design. Upon graduating from Kalamazoo Valley, he went to the Macomb Police Academy, where he attained his basic police training. Upon graduating from Macomb, Paul did 2 years in the Genesee County area as a police officer for the Genesee County Parks and also for the Genesee Township Police Department. Paul has been a member of the Wixom family for over 5 years now, and in that time, he has served as a field training officer, an evidence technician, or CSI. He's been a property and evidence officer in charge of the custody and storage of our property and evidence for the department. He's been an active assailant response instructor, or ALICE, and he's been an instructor with the Citizens Police Academy. I'm proud to introduce to you for the first time Paul as a newly promoted police sergeant. Madam Clerk, could you please administer the oath of office?
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the Charter and ordinances of the City of Wixom, Oakland County, Michigan, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties and responsibilities of police sergeant according to the best of your ability?
And Paul's wife Rosalind is going to pin his sergeant's badge on him. Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant Paul Mahala. If I could please have Sergeant Louis McCaig, his wife Mary, and daughter Ava please join me at the lectern. Sergeant McCaig has his wife Mary and his daughter Ava here with him tonight as honored guests. Louis has 3 other beautiful daughters who could not be here tonight, but we're happy to have Ava here with us. Louis graduated from Madonna University with a Bachelor of Arts in History. Upon graduating from Madonna, he attended the Northeastern Police Academy at Delta College, where he obtained his basic police training. Sergeant McCaig has been a proud member of the Wixom family for over 23 years. In that time, he's been a field training officer, a DARE instructor, which is we now have TEAM, but at the time DARE was Drug Abuse Resistance Education. He was at Wixom Elementary and Loon Lake Elementary teaching that curriculum. And then when we went to the TEAM program, Louis was also a TEAM instructor, and he served in those roles for over 17 years. Louis has been somewhat of a school liaison officer, interfacing with our middle school, our 2 elementary schools, and Wixom Christian and St. Catherine of Siena. I'm proud to be here tonight to introduce to you Louis McCaig as he joins the Wixom Police Department command team. Madam Clerk, would you please administer the oath of office?
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the Charter and ordinances of the City of Wixom, Oakland County, Michigan, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties and responsibilities of police sergeant according to the best of your ability?
Louis' wife Mary will pin his sergeant badge on him. Ladies and gentlemen, Sergeant Louis McCaig. And last but certainly not least, could Lieutenant Mark Bradley and his wife Jennifer join me up here at the lectern? Mark and Jennifer have a lovely daughter named Emma, who could not be here tonight because she's away at college, but we're happy to have Jennifer here with us. Lieutenant Bradley graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Finance from Ferris State University. He's our second Ferris State University Bulldog that I'm presenting to you tonight. Mark then went on, upon graduating from Ferris, he went on to graduate from the Schoolcraft Police Academy, where he had obtained his basic police training. Mark served for 11 proud years as a staff sergeant in the United States Army Reserve. Mark has been a member of the Wixom Police Department family for over 17 years. In his time as a Wixom police officer, he has served as a field training officer, a range officer or a firearms instructor, a property officer, and as a patrol sergeant, he oversaw our patrol shift, but he was also in charge of our detective bureau as a detective sergeant. I'm also proud to tell you that in 2017, he graduated from the prestigious Eastern Michigan University School of Police Staff and Command. It's a great honor for me to introduce to you for the first time Police Lieutenant Mark Bradley, and I'm proud to have him as my second in command and a great member of the Wixom Police Department command staff. Madam Clerk, would you please administer the oath of office?
Do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, the Charter and ordinances of the City of Wixom, Oakland County, Michigan, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties and responsibilities of Police Lieutenant according to the best of your ability?
Yes, I will.
Congratulations.
Mark's wife Jennifer will pin his police lieutenant badge on him. Mayor, that concludes my presentation. I would just like to add by way of reference that when you were a police officer with the Wixom Police Department, your badge number, I believe, was badge 8. Tonight, Alex, as our new Wixom police officer, her badge number is 37. So we've had some growth, and it's a wonderful thing to see.
You know, it is interesting because as I read that introduction that there's going to be there's going to be an appointment and 3 promotions, I thought to myself, gee, when I came out here, that was half the department. You know? But congratulations to everybody, and thanks for the presentation. What we usually do at this point is take a short break, about 15 minutes, get a chance to meet the family, get a chance to mingle a little bit, and to meet the new promoted officers and the new officers. So I'll just call for an adjournment, and we'll get back here. And you guys can keep on partying when we start the meeting up in about 15 minutes, but maybe it'd be best if it kind of, you know, we don't want to bother you either. So I'll have an adjournment. And Mr. Smiley just reminds me that if we had done it the right way, we could have done this 4 different times and had 4 different times to have cake. But I guess we weren't thinking. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Approval of the regular city council meeting of September 10th, 2019. Do I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry.
There's a different agenda. Do you have a revised agenda?
No, and I was reading off the one that was in the...
I didn't print it out.
I'm sorry. We do have an addition. Presentation, there's another presentation of the proposed site plan for BP gas station at Old Wixom Road and Pontiac Trail. Mr. Brown?
So for my letter to council, or report to council, we had in the new business section, I'll refer to that to get started. Over the years that we've had various interactions with the property owners at the BP gas station at Old Wixom Road and Pontiac Trail. There's been continued to be discussions regarding the property between the parties. And recently there is a proposal from the property owners to make modifications to that property again. And pursuant to a previous plan, it was developed with mayor and council. The plan was for them to develop a proposed site plan that would then be reviewed by our planning consultant to make sure that it was technically complete and ready for review by the planning commission. That review has taken place and it has been determined that it is ready for that. So the proposed action for you tonight and recommended action for you tonight is to actually refer it to the planning commission for their review ultimately. After they review it, they would come back with a recommendation to mayor and council for action. It could be approval, it could be denial at that point. And then administration would bring it back to mayor and council. If it's recommended for approval, we would have a first amendment to the consent judgment that governs the properties that would also be part of the authorization that would take place if it's approved by mayor and council at that time. But the final decision will be made by mayor and council in the long run. But that's the flow of it. After tonight, it would be referred to planning commission if it's approved by council for that action. Planning commission would review it, send it back to council for final decision. So we have Kelly McIntyre from CIB Planning who did the review of the site plan to do an overview of the site plan that was provided in your council packages. And from there, if there's any questions, we can address them. Otherwise, it would be a referral to planning commission if you're so inclined.
Well, I guess I'm curious why, and that was already on the agenda. Why was it decided to? How did it come about that we changed it to have a presentation and then? That
was the plan all along. When the first agenda came out, it was an oversight that the presentation was left off the agenda. When I saw the agenda, I asked for that correction, and we made it that day. But it was within minutes.
Okay.
So,
all right. Please.
Thank you. Yes, CIB was asked to review the application for zoning compliance and also for technical completeness. We did our review and we found that the proposal does meet the standards and everything is complete and ready for review by the Planning Commission. Just to give you a brief overview of what they are proposing, the project is in the VCA. However, it is being reviewed under the B3 zoning standards due to the consent judgment. They are going to expand their existing 3,182 square foot convenience store by adding 4,400 square feet. So they are more than doubling the size of that. To do so, what they need to do is to split off about 2/3 of an acre of the property to the south, combine that with the property that the gas station is currently on, so that they can make the expansion. There are no proposed changes to the pumps. They will be adding a gas powered generator at the northwest corner of the existing building, so behind the building. And adjacent to that, they are going to be adding a 1,000 gallon DEF tank, so it's diesel emission fluids tank. And with that, those would both be screened behind brick walls that will match the facade of the building. I believe the tank will have an underground pump that can come out and it will be adjacent to the diesel pumps that are currently there. Both of these will be screened by a approximately 6'4" brick-based enclosure. The two existing entrances will remain, so there'll be no changes there. They'll be adding additional parking to the south and to the east of the building. The sidewalk along Old Wixom and Pontiac Trail exists, so there'll be no changes with that. They are providing additional internal sidewalks. They will also be providing additional landscaping, namely a hedgerow along Old Wixom from the southern drive to the property line. They're proposing shrubs, trees. There will be an added detention area in the southeast corner. And foremost, the architecture of the building. They are going to reface the existing portion of the building and the new building with brick. They have done a nice job of adding details. There's a canopy, there's windows, they have a peaked roof, and they have broken up the mass of the building with vertical material elements, so it will not appear such an expanse. The building will look like it's 2 stories, and this is done through the window placement. The VCA has a minimum standard of 20 feet in height. The building will at the peak be 31 feet. So we basically found that the proposal was in compliance with the standard regulations. It's complete. We believe it is now ready to go forward, be reviewed by the Planning Commission if that is what the council so chooses.
Thank you.
So if there's any questions at this time, we can entertain them. We have representatives of the property. Marvin Puda's here this evening if you want to ask him any questions. Otherwise, we're recommending that you refer to Planning Commission for that next step of the process that was discussed previously for review by Planning Commission.
Well, I imagine we'll discuss it when we get there. Thank you very much.
So on our new business, number 1 would be the action item later
Correct.
for you to consider. Otherwise, we're
Correct.
set with the presentation if there's no questions.
Right. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the regular city council meeting minutes of September 10th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Any discussion, corrections, deletions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Correspondence? There's none. Call to the public. Call to the public. I'll read the rules for public speaking. The public shall address the council during the calls of the public, which shall be included on the agenda immediately after correspondence and again immediately after new business. The first call of the public immediately after correspondence shall be limited to agenda items only. A person shall not address the council in excess of 5 minutes unless the time is extended by a majority of the council present. Persons wishing to address the council shall identify themselves and their place of residence and shall state their reason for addressing the council. And all comments by the public shall be made directly to the council. Does anybody wish to address the council on any agenda items this evening? Seeing no one, I'll close the first call to the public. City managers reports. There's one. Departmental reports for August 2019. Anyone have any questions, comments? Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the items will be removed from the consent agenda and added to the regular agenda at the end of unfinished or new business. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Unfinished business. We have a recommendation to enact an ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances for the City of Wixom, Chapter 9.12, Offenses Against the Public, Peace and Decency, Section 9.12.140, Fireworks, to reflect changes in the Michigan Fireworks Safety Act. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
Anyone have any discussions? I know that you had a discussion on it last week. I watched it on the TV, so or the camera or whatever that fancy stuff is. Yes, Mr. Smiley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quick, I always want to say thank you, Councilman Goschel, for catching that line that been crossed out by accident. That's all.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. All right, with no new business, number one, recommendation to refer a proposed site plan regarding BP gas station at the corner of Old Wixom Road and Pontiac Trail to the Planning Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support?
Any discussion?
Not much additional, Your Honor, just the report that was provided, again, just kind of went through the time frame that I mentioned, or the plan of attack, if you will, going forward. If you approve this recommendation this evening, we'll refer it to Planning Commission for the first step. And I should mention also, we have Marvin Puda, who's here, I did mention, but I didn't mention Kevin Schoencheck is here as well as a representative of property owners if there's any questions that need to be addressed. Other than that, it's a fairly simple matter at this time to refer to Planning Commission and then see where the process goes from there.
Ms. Fox?
So is it appropriate to ask questions about the
Sure.
development? Okay.
Absolutely.
Could I have someone come up?
Sure.
Yeah, probably the engineer is the one that's, I don't, we're,
I think I'll.
yeah, a big party.
Good evening, Kevin Schoencheck, Schoencheck Incorporated, 50555 Pontiac Trail.
Marvin Puda, 31331 Wixom Road, Wixom, Michigan, Wixom BP.
Hi, thank you. So my understanding then is that the building is going to double in size. So what is is most of the building going to be store, retail type, or what is the reason for the expansion, I guess?
It's more space for convenience store, yes.
Okay, so that's the majority of
That'd
it,
be all
it's just the
retail.
convenience store?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Resnick?
Just clarification, a couple of clarifications. The DEF tanks, are they USTs? Are they above ground or
It would be one tank above ground.
above ground? Okay,
Yeah.
not UST.
Yes.
Second question, it was mentioned that was reviewed under B3 zoning ordinance through the consent judgment, but will the facades, architectural, landscaping be reviewed under VCA then, from a design standpoint? Maybe CMU.
Facade, definitely under the BCA. Some of the setback standards are going to be reviewed under the B3 simply because the existing building was built under the B3 standards. But facade, absolutely BCA.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, I have a, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a recommendation to refer the proposed plan site plan regarding BP gas station at the corner of Wixom Road, and Old Wixom Road and Pontiac Trail to the Planning Commission. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passed. Recommendation to authorize additional video recording of all regularly scheduled city council meetings and other meetings on an as-needed basis by Merged Live of Walled Lake, Michigan, at a cost of $200 per meeting for a total cost not to exceed $6,000 for fiscal year 2019-2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
What does an as-needed mean?
So,
What does that mean?
originally, we were just going to put the regular council meetings only on there, which is a $4,800 expense, but there have been times where we've considered whether we might want to do a special meeting of council perhaps, or if something like that were to come up, so we're proposing to up that by 6 additional meetings, just in case we have the need for it, so I don't have to come back to council to ask for permission for a change. I don't anticipate using many of those, but we might have a need for one or two.
I see. Anyone? Mr. Leader?
And just, can you we were paying Walled Lake to do it too, right? When they were coming to do it?
Wasn't it sorry.
No, there really wasn't a payment to my recollection. There was funding that we provided through the funding that we received from cable sources and other things that we provide to the school system, and still to this day. I would call this as an added expense At the time, we were only getting a limited number of council meetings recorded. There was a desire to expand those numbers. That wasn't really possible with the school because of the summertime and things of that nature that limited their role in those kind of situations.
We're still providing the funding to the AV department or no?
Yes, basically, yeah, from the same funding source, the cable and monies and things of that nature.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, do we actually keep any stats on number of hits? I know in my business, my marketing manager says, hey, we got so many hits on this YouTube video, or...
It's not something we've been actively monitoring too closely, but we'll do a little report on it just so you have an idea of what we find out from the basic review of what's happened recently.
Yeah, maybe a viewership report.
Yeah, to see if there's any kind of trends. Things are going up, things are going down. If they're staying the same, we can take a look at that and see what we can learn.
Yeah, I mean, I've never liked this. And I don't think I made a secret of it. Just, it's, with all of I've seen some, people getting very upset about certain budgetary expenses that I feel are far more valuable than this one. But, I'm not going to be on council next year, so it's not really me that's being video recorded. I just think that, I don't know, a lot of sizzle, no steak. Is sort of how I feel about it. That's all.
Anybody else? Yeah, I was thinking about this when I was reading this and getting ready to formulate my position on it. And I thought to myself, we're gonna. I know Peter Behrman, who's running for council, will be up here next year. He tells me that he watches these all the time. So we're going to actually miss. We're going to lose a viewer.
That's going to delete it by half.
And on the other hand, I'm going to be sitting at home watching it, so so it's a wash on there, I guess.
I won't be.
Maybe you're not going to be. All right. Anyway, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Opposed?
No.
Motion passed. Really?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Councilmember Leader?
No.
Councilmember Resnick?
Yes.
Councilmember Smiley?
Yes.
Mayor Ziegler?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Beagle?
Yes.
Councilmember Gotchall?
Yes.
Councilmember Grenlin Fox?
Yes.
6 yes, 1 no.
I didn't mean to say really.
I know. Yeah, you did. That's all right. We can have our own pet projects.
All right. Next item on the agenda is the recommendation to award the design engineering work for the 2020 Safety Path Program to Hubble Roth and Clark, Inc. in the amount of $55,580. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Anybody got anything you want to say?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Yep, we are looking to improve our safety paths, actually expanding our role for safety paths yet, and trying to take care of some of the gaps that we're seeing. And this time around, if you notice in your packet, we are looking to enhance the sidewalks, Charms Road and Wixom Road, north and south on Wixom Road, and then in the downtown area, there's a small piece. And then also just south of Pontiac Trail, trying to improve our major roads applications on the safety paths. We feel that this will enhance not only these safety paths for the city, but also gear people up towards moving towards the airline trail, which which actually will be completed here in the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're hoping. So, this particular one is just for engineering. We're doing design work for it right now, and yeah, in the council packet, it explains those costs.
Ms. Grenlin Fox.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
So when this is complete, there will be no more gaps on Wixom Road?
That's there are still a couple of gaps on Wixom Road yet, but these are these are the next sets that we're trying to take care of. I will say that in this there is a spot on that is crossing the CSX rail, and it's been difficult to have them participate with us on that. So we'll be really getting our money's worth, I guess, at this point, to try and get that designed.
So what other areas then on Wixom Road would still?
We have some near the highway that would need to be taken care of. And I think there's a small portion yet up on the north end by Loon Lake. We've got the west side of Wixom Road covered, but the other side, there's a fairly large ditch, and we would need to do some really serious engineering on that to make that work. So
Would that be a boardwalk or something?
it would end up being a boardwalk if we travel down Wixom Road for that. Right now, we kind of have them going off into the Palmer subdivision and then catching up on Loon Lake for that piece, or east side of Wixom Road.
So while those are on the radar, they're not in the near future?
No, not really, just because of the expense. We're trying to get the least expensive ones first while we still have the funding.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Resnick?
Maybe just a couple small questions here. The one lot that was kind of preventing a contiguous section on in that area 1 North Wixom,
Yes.
that in terms of rights of way and all, we've been able to secure those, or that'll be part of the engineering effort?
By Soroki's, you mean, or?
No, this is the south of across from CVS.
Across from CVS, we're still working on.
Still working on that.
Some of that, yeah.
And then just a comment, the stretch that's on northbound, or north side of Pontiac Trail by Wixom in front of PNC Bank is dangerously narrow. I watched a couple times even this week where a bike and a couple pedestrians, it's dangerously narrow. So.
That area, we're working on some other alternatives for that area, and it's primarily linked with the airline trail at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Smiley?
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Sigma. Hi. You mentioned that we're prioritizing, what gets done next and next year based on cost.
Yeah. Well, cost and our estimate of being able to complete that work. Yes.
Oh, I thought maybe it would be need or
there are priorities
would kind of lead the way a little bit.
We do look at the priority piece as well. Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Because we're, this is fun to do a special millage.
Yeah.
And I was trying to remember. Do you recall how long that goes for still?
I believe it's to 2024.
Oh, okay. So we still got a few years to accumulate.
We do have a few years on it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Do you think we'll be done by the time the millage expires?
I am not sure on that.
Because there's a tough question. We're taking a chunk every year.
Yep.
We're getting 4,600 feet done right now.
Yep.
And without, you have to tell me what the plan is, but is there something kind of like queued up in your mind for next year as well, what we'll do?
Well, if you remember, we did have a gap analysis that we did about a year ago, and it showed all the major gaps in the system. And those are all identified. And obviously, if there's one that council wants us to really look at seriously, we would definitely do that. We're trying to get the major thoroughfares done first, and try and interconnect our airline trail as we do that. And then from there, we do the other pieces. So that's, and obviously cost is the other item that.
Sure.
Can we get this piece in with the other things that we're looking at?
Okay. All right. Thanks for the update.
Yeah, no problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thanks, John.
Thank you.
I've a motion and a second to recommend the award and award the design. I'm sorry, I have a motion and a second to award the design engineering work for the 2020 Safety Path Program to Hubble, Roth, and Clark, Inc. in the amount of $55,580. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passes. Next on the agenda is recommendation to award the 2019 West Road Improvement Program to Great Lakes Contracting Solutions, LLC of Waterford, Michigan, for an amount not to exceed $615,000 $834.70. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. So this project we had as an addition to our major road program this past year during budgets, and we were really concerned with the panels on West Road and the needs for leveling them out, if you will. So this project will be taking a portion of each of the panels, removing them and reinserting repairs on that, and then also there's some curb and gutter work that we'll be working on. And we put this out to bid in the late summer, and we received these bids back, and they're within our budgets, and we recommend going with Great Lakes Contracting Solutions as our contractor on this one.
Mr. Gotcha.
Thank you. In terms of like the work we did on Beck Road, and there was comments that we were moving over to asphalt because the concrete hadn't been working out so well for us in the past. And now I assume we're doing concrete here. It's mainly industrial road, but why the change, I guess?
It's expense and the amount of repairs that we're looking at for it. If you recall, we did, I guess, similar work on Beck Road maybe 10, 12 years ago, and it was a stopgap for trying to preserve as much of the road as possible. And unfortunately, that's what we're looking at this piece too. We will be pinning them. We have learned a few things since then, and this is the recommendation that our engineering and also our concrete folks are looking at. I will say that in terms of expense with concrete versus asphalt these days, they're very close in price, and because we're not ready to do the entire road and we don't have that program for a number of years, we just want to make the repairs right now for that.
Do you know offhand how far out the road project is?
For West Road, it is in our road asset management plan, but it's at least 8 to 10 years out. I don't know for sure the exact date.
The work that gets done now, though, will that give us an option to do like a mill and overlay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and that's the other piece of it. We can restructure the base now, and it will serve much better, because right now we're doing pothole repairs on that. Even last week. So with this, we're hoping to extend the life of this for that 8 to 10 year range.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Beagle.
Thanks. On the bid tabulation sheet, the first item on there, it's mobilization. What exactly is that?
Mobilization, getting the equipment on site, getting the right pieces there. With concrete, they're trying to get the concrete as close as possible and possibly the plant. For that small amount, it's usually just getting the equipment on site with a staging area so that they don't have to move back and forth from their area for it. So it's a placeholder.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Anybody else? I have a motion and thanks, Tim. I have a motion and a second to award the 2019 West Road Improvement Program to Great Lakes Contracting Solutions, LLC of Waterford, Michigan, for an amount not to exceed $615,834.70. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Motion passed. Thanks. And then a recommendation to award the design and construction engineering work for the Beck Road Improvement Program to Hubble, Roth and Clark, Inc. for a total amount of $149,670. Do I have a motion?
So, support?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. So this project is to do a mill and overlay and some some gutter and gutter improvements along Beck Road north of Pontiac Trail. And we intend to go all the way down to Potter with this. And this is just the design engineering for it and also the construction. We do have some estimated costs on what we think that's going to cost because of the different items that are there. And what is it? I can't remember the total miles. That estimated cost is also in there just as a placeholder of what we're thinking, just based on current pricing and that we've seen over the last few years. So the design will be there. They'll look at the drainage issues that we've seen, and we'll get those fixed in this project as well. But it's mostly mill and overlay for Beck Road.
Mr. Resnick?
So the 2-inch overlay, that's been very typical then?
Typically, yes. Yeah, we would mill down and take that down to the curb, across curb to curb, and they would have a nice crown on the top. So sometimes it goes up.
They re-crown it as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Beagle?
Thanks. Both sides of Beck Road is Wixom?
Yes.
Where does the cutoff is? Because I know that intersection in one corner is Commerce, one corner is Novi. Where does that come in at?
That's that comes in right at that corner, but we've always maintained that the road itself on that intersection is ours.
Okay.
And, yeah.
That's the one thing I wanted to make sure was our taxpayers weren't paying to fix Commerce Township roads.
That's a good point. Yes.
Okay.
No,
thanks.
this is all our easement. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, I have a motion and a second to award the design and construction engineering work for Beck Road Improvement Program to Hubble, Roth, and Clark for a total amount of $149,670. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Thanks.
Thank you.
The add-on is a consideration of mayoral appointment of Fred Alexander as alternate to the Board of Review with a term to expire December 31st, 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Support.
I don't believe Mr. Alexander is here, but his application came across was sent to me and forwarded to me, and got some pretty good references here, so I thought maybe I would make this recommendation and an appointment. Anybody have any? Do I have a motion for? Did I already do that? All right. Everybody, any questions? All right. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. Thank you to gentlemen for stepping forward. Next item on the agenda is the second call of the public. I've already read the rules for public speaking, so anybody who would like to speak tonight on any issue that might be on their mind, please step forward. Yeah, we do have one student that's here, and why don't you come on up and introduce yourself, and we'll get you on the record so you can show the teachers there that you actually participated in this meeting, and you can, if you wait long enough, you get a copy of the minutes, your name will be in it. So you'll be on the record. So.
I'm Sean Van Sickle. I'm a senior in high school. I attend Lakeland. I grew up in Stratford Villa off Wixom Road. Currently live in Childs Lake Estates right now on the edge of Milford.
Oh, great. And what class are you taking that you?
My senior government class.
Okay, well, great. Once in a while, when we have somebody come up, we ask them a couple of questions. Anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask? Mr. Smiley.
Thank you. I'm just wondering, semester's early, but you've been there almost a month now. What have you found the most interesting about government and senior government specifically, your class?
Right now, we've been more focused on the Constitution writing, and like we're kind of starting in the beginning and moving up. We just got through all that, and we just started on like amendments to the Constitution. But honestly, this is probably the coolest part of the class so far.
This part right here?
Yeah.
What do you mean the Constitution?
This part, like coming.
Oh, God. We're not better than the Constitution.
I'd like to see democracy in action, huh?
Yeah.
Well, the Constitution's a very important document. I'm glad you guys are reading it.
Anybody else? Well, thanks for coming out and joining us tonight. I hope you learned a little bit. And if you want to stick around and have some discussion with any of us afterwards, we'll be around. Okay?
All right, thank you.
All right. Anybody else? I guess I'll close the second call to the public. City manager's comments. Mr. Brown.
Yeah, so on the update, there were several employee anniversaries that are taking place in this current month of October coming up here, from 2 years up to 22 years. So congratulations to all the employees that are celebrating those work anniversaries. On the Michigan Airline Trail Phase 1 construction update, things I'd like to highlight from there is just that the construction is continuing, and during the construction, the trail is technically closed. And people hopefully are following that, and to the extent that they're not following that, I recommend very highly that they follow that Wednesday night into Thursday for sure, because we had a little good news, bad news on our update here. The bad news is there was asphalt paving. The final 2-inch top layer of finished asphalt was to be applied. We were hoping that was going to be completed by September 20th. As with construction projects of these types, sometimes that doesn't always happen. That's our case this time. And in my update, I mentioned that there's a certain coating that's provided or applied to the trail before the application of that top layer of asphalt. It's a messy business. You don't want it on your shoes. You don't want it on your bike. So that is scheduled to actually start on Wednesday, potentially Wednesday night, if not Thursday morning. If you see some glistening stuff on the trail, you really, really should stay off the trail. Be trouble for you, trouble for your shoes, trouble for your bike. So that's something I want to warn people about. That construction or that asphalt application should be completed by Saturday. So we should basically have a finished trail for the most part with the surface by this Saturday. That's the bad news. On the good news front, later on in my update, I talked about the fact that certain aspects like crossing amenities or crossing safety devices were going to be installed by September 27th, and I suppose that still could be the case, but we are seeing earlier action on that than we thought. There's Hawks, which is the major mast arm that extends over the roadway and is controlled by the would-be crosser of the road, where you press a button and get a light activated so that you can cross safely. The physical pieces of equipment are installed. The electricity is not yet applied, so it's not in full operation, so the lights are covered in black hooding that makes it clear that it's not operational. But some of that stuff has already been installed, so we're making better progress on that front, a little slower progress on the paving, but we should be done, as was mentioned earlier, within a few weeks on this trail. Likely to have some sort of a ribbon cutting opening happening late October, perhaps into early November, depending on a couple of things that might still need to be wrapped up before that time. So we're still largely on track. We were hoping for early in October. It looks like it's going to be more like late October or so. We are making progress though. So other than that, there's several other dates to remember on here, including some important stuff coming up for events that we do year after year that are very popular, like our Monster Mash on Thursday, October 17th. Other things like trick-or-treating scheduled for Thursday, October 31st, of course, from 6 to 8:30 p.m. There's various things in the calendar for people to take a look at. If anybody has any questions on anything, I will do my best to answer it. Other than that, I am set on the report.
Thank you. Council comments, Mr. Beagle.
Thank you. I just want to congratulate the 4 members of the PD for either their new hiring or their promotions. That's always a good thing. Thanks to Fred Alexander for stepping up and accepting his position on Board of Review. Congratulations to the 7 people who are celebrating their work anniversaries with the city. We appreciate their hard work and dedication. And I'm glad to see that the play structure was open. It's pretty fun project that we did. Of course, my shoes are still wet and caked from the mud from Saturday, but it was fun. I'm glad to see it's open. It's quite a structure, and thank you to everybody who helped out with that. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Gossel.
Thank you. Wanted to welcome and thank Officer Rick Vitus for joining the Wixom Police Department, and also wish my congratulations and say thank you to Sergeants Mahala and McKay, and also to Lieutenant Bradley. Also wanted to thank Fred Alexander for volunteering to be an alternate on the Board of Review. Then something that has kind of been on my mind is, with all the engineering costs we've been spending lately, what would it cost to bid that out, I guess, and would there be savings enough in the difference there from other engineering firms to more than cover that cost? Lately it's been like a couple $100,000 a night we're sending to HRC for engineering things, it seems, so I'd just be really curious to start getting some other bids along that front to see if there are savings out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Grundlin Fox.
Thank you. In addition to what my fellow council members have said, as far as the congratulations to the all of those who are celebrating anniversaries and the new police officer, as well as the promotions, I would like to bring up the recent issues with DTE and the power outages that have been going on. I don't know if that's something that we can talk about here or that perhaps administration can look into. I did some research and also had a friend of mine who was more knowledgeable about it look into it. And it looks like it was only just a year ago, October of 18, where we had some issues in Wixom, and the media got involved, and then DTE came in and fixed some things. But now it seems to be happening again. I know on Friday there was a few times the power was out. There were a couple surges. There were some people in my neighborhood at Wexford Mews, Norton Creek, that had surges. It ruined some appliances. So just wondering, I know there might not be a whole lot we can do. We're kind of at the mercy of DTE, but is there any way we can put some pressure on them, or at least find out what's going on?
Yeah, the last time when we had some action from DTE Energy that addressed specific problems, the city was very heavily involved in that, frankly, in coordinating information coming in from residents and encouraging people to provide that information, collating it, compiling it, and getting it to DTE and kind of repeatedly bringing it up as an issue. We did have, I'd like to think, some impact in making those improvements happen, and we're going to have to do the same thing again if the situation continues to be that way. I do know that there's been several power outages across the area, and that might be the story that might be told to begin with, and we'll have to keep our eye on it to see if it continues to repeat and whether it's isolated compared to other communities and those kind of things, which is what the case was last time. I mean, there was just a striking number of power outages in our community that was just really unacceptable, and in the long run, I think we helped to convince DT of that and have them make some effort to improve the infrastructure that's in place, and that might well be the situation again. And normally that's a matter of accumulating information and making the case, and we'll be on top of that again to do that again as needed.
So we do have a contact person?
Yes.
That you're, okay.
Yeah, there's a government relations gentleman that interacts with us as a first point of contact, and he and I got pretty close during that process. So we spent a lot of time on the phone together.
Oh, good.
So.
Well, good for us, I guess, not so good.
Yeah,
for
no,
you.
not good, but good that it had a positive impact in the long run.
So he is responsive, and they were responsive?
Yeah, we managed to get some good response last time, and we'll do the same this time. I'll do our best this time to make sure that things are being addressed if it becomes systematic and problematic and ongoing, which is what the case was last time, for years. And we don't want to see that repeated.
No, and just when it's such a short period of time. I mean, in a year, that now it seems to be happening again. But,
right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, we will be making an effort to continue to inform them of those issues.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leader.
I also want to congratulate all the police officers. And that was actually really cool to see all the people that came out to support the police officers. There was a big crowd on hand today. And speaking of segue into the police officers, I have noticed increased traffic presence in the mornings. A lot of vehicles have been pulled over for things that they used to be getting away with. So I don't know if we've had, I think the last update from Ron had some additional traffic offenses that were on there, but I'm interested to see how the new traffic officer is progressing and what that's turning into from a citation standpoint. So, but I noticed, that's for sure.
I can step in on that briefly. We were just at an HOA meeting where that question was raised, and we had, he put the estimate at roughly 40% citations, 60% warnings is kind of the MO to begin with. And as people have been put on notice that there's going to be that added enforcement, he's looking for that to shift to a higher number on the citation side.
Yeah, I'm just looking for, just from an effectiveness standpoint. But I mean, I've seen on good few mornings in a row, somebody pulled over on, Maple and Wixom, Pontiac Trail. I mean, it's a presence, and I think it's working. So for the residents that have been looking for it, it's definitely out there.
Traffic Safety Officer Pistolesi is doing a nice job on that. I could talk about the 3 E's. I know Ron would if he were here. Education, enforcement, and engineering. So he's pursuing all those different avenues to try to improve the safety situation in our community and make sure people are following the traffic laws and keeping everybody safe. So,
Thank you. Mr. Resnick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd also like to welcome Officer Alexander Rakovitis, and congratulations to Sergeant Makala McCaig and Lieutenant Bradley. I think, with this sticky goo being put down on the trail before the final coat, it might be worthwhile of a citywide email blast,
Yes.
maybe Wednesday morning or Thursday, or probably tomorrow morning.
Right.
Tell people to stay off it, because even coming here, I noticed there was one lone cyclist that was going down there, but people are on it, that's for sure. Also, how was did Mr. Levine have a reception when he came through Wixom? A thank you or something?
The inaugural ride did take place, and the riders came through Wixom on the 17th as expected. Mr. Levine wasn't in the set of riders that came through Wixom. I don't know if there was an issue with equipment or health or something else that prevented his participation in Wixom. So I didn't get a chance to see him. I did go out to meet him at the trail, but unfortunately he did not make it through Wixom. So we'll get in touch with him to make sure we extend our appreciation to him. We had a nice presentation plaque that we had for him, a Golden Spike Award for being a participant and participating in the funding of the project. So I'm sure that John Hensler, the trail manager, is going to make sure that he gets that to him personally. There were a lot of riders that came through, on the order of 50 riders that came through on that inaugural ride that day. It was a nice event, nice little visit into our town there, and early preview of what the trail is going to be like. We got lots of compliments from them for what a nice job was being done on the trail. So,
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Smiley.
Thank you, sir. Couple of follow-up, also to do with the trail. Is there any, danger of damaging that coating if people are
Yes.
biking on it and walking on it?
Right.
I mean, I don't want their
They
shoes
often-
to get dirty, but I'm more concerned that, we're gonna
Right.
hurt the integrity of.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
to the extent that it's on your shoes and
It's
on
too
your
big
bike,
an
it's
area
not
to
on the asphalt, and it's not
police
making the
or
connection between the
tape
two
off.
layers. So,
All right.
yeah, the purpose of that is to increase the adherence of the existing layer of asphalt to the new layer of asphalt. So yes, it would have a negative impact on the quality of the trail.
I don't know if you realize or not, but there's people using it right now.
Shocked. Yeah, no, we were well aware that people
But,
were.
it
were doing
might, I guess if they're gonna track goo into their house, that might stop them, but
Yeah,
maybe
we'd like to
not,
stop
I
them
don't
ahead of
know.
time. We'll do our best to get the word out tomorrow. We're going to try to play it by ear. We'll know, hopefully, as we get into the day, of whether the likelihood of that happening on Wednesday night is the case or if it's Thursday. And we'll do some preemptive informational postings to hopefully make sure people are aware of that. We'll do the best we can with it because that is going to be an issue if people are on the trail that day when that's applied. It's going to be a problem all the way around.
Okay. And then follow up on Rutland Fox's, questions about DTE. Yeah, it always seems like it takes, it's more time going by than you think before it happening. And I'm not defending DTE. That that most recent outage, you know, it was a perfectly beautiful day. The week before, we'd had a severe storm going through. You had like 3 or 4 trees down in your subdivision. I watched a branch blow out a transformer and start on fire across the street from my house. I mean, that was really severe weather. I don't blame anybody, you know, DT anyway, for that. They were out pretty quick fixing it. But that following week, you know, it's perfectly beautiful sky. Okay. Also, yeah, thank you for, you know, and not thank you, congratulations and welcome to the 3 promotions and the new officer. I think that's my favorite part of being a councilman is when we have these, and not just because of the cake, but those, you know, having those ceremonies here, it really feels good. And then finally, somebody already mentioned the park build. That is really a marvelous thing that we have, you know, having had done. I was there for a spell helping. It was hard work. And I just want to thank the DPW department, especially Tim, who was just drenched in sweat the whole time. That guy, you know, it looked like he put the thing together himself, you know, in the end. But I know there was a lot of hands made for light work, but it was hard. Or I'm old. Thanks. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had this vacation planned last week. I missed that whole build, you know, and I mean, I don't know that would have been much help, but it would have been fun to be there and be a part of it. I appreciate all the volunteers that showed up and helped, and the staff that put that together. I rode up there and took a look, and it's really a very, very nice job. Really appreciate it. A couple of things I wanted to talk about this evening. I wanted to remind everybody, if you didn't already know, there's a presentation of at the Gibson family marker at the Wixom up at the Gibson House tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but Thursday at 11 a.m. And it's going to be a nice little event. If you can make it up there, it would be appreciated by the Historical Society. They've done a lot of work up there, and that's going to be a nice little presentation. So I wanted to remind everybody to think about going to that. On the DTE thing, maybe a news blast should go out on that too, because you know, maybe we should just say that as you're aware, it happened again. If it continues, please start, and maybe Cheryl can start her list up again, because she's the one that was compiling much of the data as people would call in, and that would be maybe a step in that direction, at least a response that we can do. I don't want to get a big discussion and certainly don't want any arguments to arise out of this, but I do have to talk about this idea, this notion Mr. Goslich brought up about the engineering and bidding out the engineering. I want to just kind of say that you know, the decision, I don't think that's a decision. We can make suggestions certainly all we want, but I think that's the sort of thing that is a little bit beyond, I think, what we should be doing is telling the administration that they should bid out things like that. That's, I think, a management thing that the person that the administration is responsible for getting the best deal, doing the best deal for us. And if in his judgment or the administration's judgment they decide to bid out, then I think that's what they should do. But I think there's a reason that we do it the way we do it, and the reason is because we've gone out one time and chosen somebody and stuck with them, and we've stuck with them because we've found that we could trust them and we believe what they're doing. Now that doesn't mean just like in other areas, if they decide to if the manager decides that he wants to go out and look, see if he can get a better deal with the attorneys or whatever, that's his prerogative. I don't think that that's something that we should be involved in. Tell them to do that. And the reason that I bring it up is because you brought up the idea, and I don't want that to be the official position of the council. And the only way that I can ensure that that doesn't happen is to say what I got to say about it. So I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but I would be a little bit surprised if the next engineering proposal came out with bids without having further discussion and maybe a less formal meeting, you know, like a budget meeting or study session. Maybe we can talk about it at that time, but anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Having said all that, have a nice evening, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Go home.